Good afternoon. My name is Rudi. I will be your presenter for today. Today we're going to look at the basics of the software. So no, we're not going to go into any analysis or anything like that in this webinar. We're only going to go through the bare basics of the software. In your next webinar on Thursday, we will go through a bit more on the advanced stuff like filtering and also charting, and then maybe buying and selling some shares, right, and adding some shares to the watch list. Now, for those that don't know, if you want to log into the software, you have to go to encompass.sharetrackin.com, either by using Edge or Google Chrome or Firefox or even Brave. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to enter your username, which would be your email, and then your password. Okay, and then preferably just check the remember me. Okay, then you're going to go down to login, and it's going to log you into the software. Okay, so the first page that you'll see is you'll find your investment dashboard. Now this dashboard is basically where all your shares are going to display. All right, on the left hand side here you'll see your account balances. So all the shares that you've all the account that you've opened would display here on your left hand side. You'll see I've got a simulation portfolio here. Usually the default would be 100,000 that you'll get in your simulation portfolio, and then to the right of that you get your profits and losses. Now that will show your income, your expenditure, and then your losses that you've acquired. Right, and then on the right hand side you get your market values. Now anything that you bought that will show here in your market values. So exactly the same which your profit and your losses shows. It would show you on your right hand side. Then you get your accounts. Same thing. We've got a simulation account with our market balances, our cash balance, investment value, total brokerage costs, and then your growth and loss that you have incurred. Then underneath that you get your investment summary for simulation or whichever other account that you've selected. It will give you the code of the company that you bought, the quantity that you bought, the unit cost, including your brokerage costs, your total cost of your investment, the current price per share, the current value of your shares, today's movement, the overall movement, and overall percentage movement. Okay, and then of course the action where you can set up your stop losses or or you can go and sell your shares from there. Now on the right hand side you'll find your investment dashboard over there. So whenever you're on any one of the other pages, you just click on investment dashboard and it's going to bring up this page for you. Now on your left hand side you'll see you've got analysis, and then it will give you some more options to choose from. Now we're going to go to world market indicators, and underneath your world market indicators you'll find stuff like your resources, your currencies, and then market indicators. Now other resources we listed: Brent crude oil, gold rand kilogram, palladium, platinum, and silver. Now these are only some of the resources that are listed that you can trade on other platforms. We don't trade it on the software itself, but I mean this only to show you what the current values are for those resources. Okay, underneath that you'll find your currencies. Now currencies are really important. Reason for that is it depends on, it's all about the basically when you look at exporting and importing any goods, all right, that would play a huge influence on the stock market, especially when, let's say for instance, the rand goes up but the gold price comes down. Now this would have a big influence on it. So over there you'll see the ZAR versus the US dollar, which is the main one that we're going to focus on. Okay, underneath that you get your market indicators. Market indicators basically only shows you what's currently happening in the world. Like for instance, the South African one is right at the bottom, J203. It will show you that we've changed with 280 points so far for the day, and we've went down with 0.5% for the day, and it will show you the level and the last date, which is obviously today's date. Okay, and then you got your stock movement view. Now your stock movement view is going to give you a little bit more information on what's currently happening on the market, give you the top shares for the day, and give you the worst shares for the day, and also gives you a market sentiment right at the top here. So the market sentiment, you can see that the JSE is currently more in a bearish trend than in a bullish trend. It's only 1%, so it means that there's it's half and half. So 50% of shares went up and 50% of the shares went down. In this case, it's 49.51. Okay, so the market is this can't really decide where it wants to go at this stage. Then you get your top 40 blue chip shares. Now, these are the most known shares in South Africa, which is PRX, and here's the Bush, British American Tobacco, Naspers, BHP, and so on. Okay, so the blue chip shares are the shares that investors tend to trade more, all right, because they are more South African known shares. Here and there you'll find something like British American Tobacco, which isn't really a South African share, but I mean it's something that investors are really interested in. Okay, so these shares basically tend to move more than what other shares do if you're looking at volume and value based shares. Then you could get your top 10 volume. Now, this would show you the volume that's been traded for the day so far. Now, volume is basically the amount of shares that's been traded for the trading day. Now, if you want to see the amount of deals that's been done for the transaction day, all you're going to do is you're going to click on that share, like for instance, PPC Limited, and you're going to go to details, and it will show you what happened for today right here by latest trading values. It will show the opening price, the highest price, the lowest price for today, the last trading price, the volume that it traded so far for today, and then the change in rand, change in percentage, and then the deal. So that's the amount of deals that's been done with that amount of shares. Okay. And below that, you get your top 10 best performers. Now, these are the shares that's traded the best so far for the day, percentage based. Okay, so it doesn't really mean that these shares are good shares to trade with. Okay, but if you put, let's say for instance, you put in a trade today for PHM, then PHM would have been a good trade if you had money in it. I would more say that it would have been a better idea to maybe go into that share with a CD instead of trading with it via a equity. All right, equity is a little bit more long term. So if you're trading CDs, then PHM would have been a much better opportunity to trade with. Okay, then you get your top 10 worst performers. So that's just the other way around. So the shares basically that has basically fallen so far for the trading day. Okay, so it's just the other way around of your best performers. Then you get your price earnings average. Now this works on a PE ratio, so it takes the overall PE ratio for that sector, and it works it out on average. Okay. Now the higher that average is, the more trading is basically being done on those shares. Okay, that's a PE average in cents. Then you get your top 10 shares bought by clients, and this is basically what our client base looks at overall. Like for instance, DRD, Gold, Sasol, Sibanya, Harmony, Anglo Gold, Clicks, and so on. Okay, so these shares are what our clients tend to trade more. All right, and this is only our client database. It's not anything to do with FNB or Standard Bank or Capitec or anything like that. Only depending on what people trade on our software. Then you get your strongest stocks, percentage above and percentage below 200-day moving average. Now I'll give you a quick tour on how the 200-day moving average basically works. Now you'll see, for instance, Pan Africa Resource PLC is 71.9% over the 200-day moving average, which right at the bottom you'll find a share like AGL, Anglo American PLC, which is 11% above the 200-day moving average. Okay, then you also get your weaker stocks below the 200-day moving average line. Now, how the 200-day moving average line works is, let's say, for instance, Pan Africa. And so we're going to click on Pan Africa. It's going to give us the security details for the share, and we're going to go over to the chart IQ, and it's going to give us the chart IQ or the chart for this share. All right, for PAN. Now, how the 200-day moving average works is, if we go to studies right at the top. Sorry, it's just taking some time to open up. There we go. So we're going to go to studies at the top, click on moving average, and we're going to change the periods to 200, which is basically based on the strongest stocks and weaker stocks above or below the 200-day moving average. So we're going to add that 200-day moving average period of 200, just creates it, and it's going to create this line. Now, basically what the percentage is talking about is that PIN is 71.9% above the average, right? So there's your average. That current average is R3.08, which the share price is currently sitting on R5.21, right? So the gap between there and there is 71%, right? Now, the smaller that gap is, the more chance that share basically has to grow again, all right? The further it pushes from this 200-day moving average means that it's at a much higher price, and it might be at an overbought price. For instance, if you look at what the gap was between here and where the price was here, the price was way too overbought, and that's why the share went into basically a correction. All right, so it made a correction in the market, and it's trying to get back down to its level that it was previously. Okay, so a share that is a bit lower, let's say for instance AGL. Now we're going to go here to our left hand side here at the top there. We're going to type in our code AGL and press enter, and it's going to load up AGL for us. Now this year we can see that it had dropped right through the 200-day moving average. It went down, it went up again, cut through that 200-day moving average, and it started to go up. Now this one is a bit closer to the 200-day moving average, right? Which means that it's got a little bit more potential to grow, right? Because it's not that far from the 200-day moving average. Now, if you look at it the other way around, if we go to the weaker stocks, you can see a share like Hammerson PLC, for instance, has fallen by 63.87%. All right, which means this share hasn't really got that much of a chance to really regain and go back to that 200-day moving average. So it means that it's fallen through this 200-day moving average, and it's continuing in that bearish trend. Okay, we obviously want the share to go into a bullish trend. Now, what I usually look at is the shares right at the bottom. So like this game, for instance, it's currently gone down by 21%. But a share like this game is more of a known name, right? So obviously a share like this would have more of a chance to regain percentage growth, right, and go back to the 200-day moving average. And that means that we're more likely to trade with a share that's right at the bottom than with a share that's right at the top. All right. So it doesn't mean that it's bad shares listed on the weaker stocks. All right. It might be that the shares that just gone into a correction, or it's a bit in a bearish trend, and it might recover. Okay. Below that, you get your positive share sector movement. So this is basically in that sector. Let's say, for instance, like basic materials, we'll see the GML. So if we click on the share, once again, we can see what the share's name is. And just take some time to load up. But basically what it tells us is that GLM has got a price of R1.35, and it's got a movement of 11.57%. All right, so that's the best share basically in basic materials. Same with consumer goods. We look at consumer good. LBR has gone up by 2.52% for the day in consumer goods. We look at consumer services, BHM, 139, and it's got up by 239.02% so far for the trading day. Okay, and then you get your negative share sector movement over here. Okay, so negative share sector movement is basically going to show you the shares that's fallen in that sector. Same thing, basic materials are in 45 cents per share, and it's gone down by 8.16. So that's the weakest stock in basic materials. Okay, so you get the idea. Negative, positive share sector movement, the best shares in that sector, and the negative share sector movement, which would be the worst shares in that sector. Then you get Satrix. Now, we don't really trade Satrix, but you can trade Satrix if you're using a platform like Standard Bank or Easy Equities or FNB or ABSA or Netbank. You will be able to trade them real time over there. As far as I know, there are some plans that bought some Satrix shares on the software. So I think it might be possible to do that as well. Then underneath that, you get your exchange traded funds. Now ETFs, you'll also be able to trade on the software, but exchange traded funds is more for people that's just starting off with trading. So you'll notice when you open an online share trading account through any one of the investment institutions, that you will get a free tax-free savings account with your trading account. All right, it doesn't matter through who it is, Easy Equities, FNB, Standard Bank, ABSA, Netbank, they'll open one for you alongside with your trading account. All right, so at all times, when you open that account, you must know that you will have access to an ETF account basically to go and trade those types of shares. But the percentage movement on them are really small. So you'll see that most of the movements on them are really small percentages. Now and then you'll get a share that moved up by 1 or 2%, like for instance over there, ETF SWX has gone up by 1.25%. This one has gone down by 1.96%. Okay, but these ones you'll only, as I said, you'll only be able to trade them if you've got a tax-free savings account, but obviously you will get one with your trading account. Okay. Then get our winning shares list. Now, the winning shares list is basically a collaboration of everything that ShareTrackin has put on our list. So that's all types of shares all over the market that we've put on our list. Now, it's about 100 shares that's listed on the winning shares list. Now, on this list, you'll see that we've only got the recently added, the top 10. And then at the top here, you'll find our guru's watch list, basically what she's having a look at currently. Now, she's got on a watch list, she's got BHP Group PLC, Kumba Iron Ore, and Pan Africa Resource PLC. And then also she has Vodacom Group Limited, Aspen Pharmacare Holdings, and Sibanye Stillwater. And on the right-hand side, you'll see these are the latest performers. Now, Anglo Gold Ashanti Limited has gone up by 57.55%. Since we've added on our winning shares list. Process.NB has gone up by 45.29% since we've added it onto our winning shares list. Okay, so you get the idea that we only look at the shares that basically making the best growth on the JSE. Okay, so we don't really go for any shares that's underperforming the market. So most of the time we're looking at shares that's growing at a rate of at least per month 3.33%, which would give you your 40% within 12 months, or for instance your 40% within 6 months. But then you'll need to look at shares that's growing a bit more than that, about 6.66% per month. All right, so that you can make your 40% profit either in 6 months, but annually about 3.33%. But we look at it in that sense that we don't give you shares that's underperforming the market, but that's basically overperforming the market, right? That's doing a little bit better than what the market is doing overall. Okay, so recently added, you'll see, for instance, you get your code, your company name, the price per share, the latest price. The percentage gain, it went up. It's 34.06%, and then the date added was the 4th of the 5th. Okay, and it was say status if it's gained or if it's made a loss on the market. Then the charting tools and chart IQ that would be discussed in the next session. And then you get your heat maps. Now the heat maps is basically only going to give you like a little heat map showing you where the shares are heading to. For instance, you'll see that SVN right at the top there with 10.66%. But if we scroll down, then you'll see right at the bottom there you've got CZA, which has gone down by 14.27%. Okay, so right at the bottom it will give you the more reddish colored ones, and then right at the top the more greenish ones. So the green is obviously the shares that went up, the red is the ones that went down. If you only want to see the positive growers, click on positive growth and it will only give you the shares that's gone up so far, or the negative growing ones. It will show all the ones that going into bearish trend basically, that you wouldn't really want to trade right now. You might want to add on to a watch list because it didn't fall that far, but obviously you'll have to look at all those shares listed on the winning shares list, or are they part of the top 40. Okay, and then you could get your top 40 list. Top 40, as I said previously, it's the most known shares in South Africa, which traders tend to trade more. Okay, and then your watch list. So if you've got anything on your watch list, you'll see, for instance, I've got AGL currently on my watch list, which has gone down by 1.85%. But all your shares that you've added onto your watch list will show up here. All right, then get your stocks page. Now, stocks page, same thing. We can go through this in our next session. But my stocks and watch list basically right at the top here. Just quickly want to show you here. So any shares that you've bought would go right here by your stocks, and everything that you've added onto your watch list, once again, right there, it will go and add it onto your watch list. All right, and then you get your golden goose. Now the golden goose is an extra option that you can opt in for. Now there is an extra fee, obviously, of 99 Rand per month. You can go to our website, www.sharetrackin.co.za. And go to our product catalog, and then you can go and register for the golden goose over there. Now the golden goose, basically how it works is you'll get weekly signals and daily signals. And this is also more not only for people that trade on CFDs. CFDs, I would more say, is more for the daily signals, because of all the recurring fees that you've got on CFDs. You would go for your daily signals. but you also get your weekly signals that you can use for the JSE itself if you're trading equities. Now how it basically works is you'll see that it's got 3 traffic lights. You get your green traffic light, orange traffic light, and your red traffic light. Now green traffic lights are basically your shares that's breached levels, that's going into a new bullish trend. For instance, if you look at Anglo has breached a level of 377 Rand and 40 cents. Now it's currently sitting at, with the last price on 417 Rand and 54 cents. But the sellout price, basically your buy target price, is going to be 557 Rand. Okay, so the shares you're basically looking for is any share that's closer to the buy entry price. So the last price must be closer to the buy entry price so that you can make that buy expected profit, right? Because the closer it is to your buy entry price, the more profit you're going to make. Okay, the further it is from it, means that you're not really going to make that buy expected profit. You're going to make a little bit less. All right, so you're mainly going to look at the ones that's giving you the green traffic lights, the go ahead basically to go and buy into those shares. But not only are you going to look at that, you're also going to look at, are those shares on the winning shares list? Because obviously you're wanting the our opinion and then the software's opinion at the same time. So when it gives you a green traffic light with the red star next to it, then it's more likely that that share might go into a bullish trend, right, and make you that profit that you want. All right, so if you go a little bit off the list and look at any share like, for instance, NHM, I mean, doesn't really have a red star next to it, means that you'll need to go and do a little bit more homework. Go to the charting, go watch the charting, and see if that share has got a chance to really go into a bullish trend. All right, but obviously we can see that the share has gone up so far. So from 107 Rand all the way up to 153 Rand currently. Okay, almost at its target of 180 Rand. All right, which can give you 40%. Sometimes they're not that lucky. They might just fall underneath that and not be a really good buy. Okay, as I said, you've got the daily signals as well. Now the daily signals, it's the same as the your weekly signals, but these ones you'll see that the profit is a little bit less than what you would get on your weekly signals. But it works exactly the same. Once it gives you that green signal, take that share, buy it on your portfolio, and see if you can make that buy expected profits. And you must know that our guru Moshimagama has already done her analysis on these shares. So if you want to go and just make sure, you're more than welcome. Go make sure, take the share, put it on the watch list with the RSI and a stochastic, pull in a 200-day moving average, pull in your trend lines and see, is that share really going up? But as I said, most of the time she's already done the homework for you. You can basically take that share and go buy it on your simulation page. But also when you open the golden goose, then you will get an extra account underneath the dashboard which would say golden goose account. Okay, so you've got that extra account to go and trade these shares on. So that's basically apart from your simulation. Underneath that, you get your accounts. So right from here, you can go and invest. You can go and buy your shares. But there's an easier method that we will show you in the next session. Financials will basically show you everything that you've bought and sold so far on your simulation. So it will give you a summary of what's happening on your account. Your current holdings, if you've got any shares bought, your safety ratchet. So if you bought a share, it will tell you right on your right hand side on the safety nets. If you have to sell the share, is it still going up? Is it still going down? So you will get 3 basically there. You'll get your target value, your stop loss, and gross stop loss. So when it reaches your stop loss and gross stop loss, it will say that you need to go and sell it on your safety net. If it reached your target value, same thing, it's going to tell you to sell. But the thing is, you can always go and adjust that percentage, let's say from 10% to 20%. So you don't really need to go and sell it if you don't want to, but you still need to go and do your analysis. All right. Then your transactions. So everything that you bought and sold. So you'll see that, for instance, there I bought Sabanya and then I sold Sabanya again. All right. And then your cash flow. So where basically your cash went. So here it will say that I bought Sabanya, so there was a withdrawal, and then a deposit was made again when I sold the share. And then underneath your income and expenses, same thing, it's going to show you expense. So I've made expense on Sabanya, and then that was my income on that share. Then manage accounts is basically where you can just go and create an extra account. So if you want a test account or a Darby account or a Rudi account or a Marlene account, you can just go and enter your account name with the amount, the cash balance that you would like to start off with, let's say 5,000, 10,000 Rand, just to practice on. And then you can just go and click there to go and select the date and click on create extra account and throw it underneath your existing accounts. Calculators, basically it's going to give you your investment calculator. Now each and every share that you buy will have a certain percentage that you need to buy underneath. That would be your break-even point percentage. So your break-even point percentage always needs to be underneath 4%, especially when you're trading through a company like FNB or Standard Bank, so that you can make back your brokerages before you sell out. All right. Because obviously you need to start making profits. Let's say, for instance, a share like SL, like Sassel. Just enter your code, select the company, and it's going to give you your share code, the price of the share, and the quantity is obviously 0 with the break-even point percentage, the brokerage that you're going to pay the total. You're going to pay the selling brokerage and then break-even price. Now, when I go and buy one share, right, it's going to give me a break-even point percentage of 551%. Which means that my brokerage fees are 551% of my total cost, right? So if you subtract the 550, or if you subtract basically that 113 Rand on your brokerage and 113 Rand on your sell brokerage, then you're going to see that you're going to end up in a minus, all right? Because what's going to happen, or from your total, sorry. So what's going to happen is your selling brokerage and your brokerage are basically a little bit more than what your total is. All right, so it means that you're going to take longer to start making money. So the more shares I buy, the lower that percentage goes. So now this time, my 117 Rand plus my 113 Rand is only 15.38% of my total. Okay, so I only need to grow by 15% before I start making profits, because you need to make back your brokerages before you make any profits. All right, so if I go in, for instance, I say I want to buy 50 shares, you'll see that now it's below 4%, and so my break-even point percentage now, instead of red, it's now green. All right, so it means that I'm underneath or below the 4% on my break-even point percentage. All right, so now it means that my 132 Rand, which is there, and my selling brokerage, 113 Rand, is only 3.28% of my total that I'm going to invest. All right, so it means that I don't have to grow that much to make back my brokerages. Okay, if it's not that clear for you, you're more than welcome to either send me a message on the webinar, or afterwards you can just send me an email to Rudi@sharetrackin.com, and I can send you an overlay or a little page on how the brokerage fees basically are calculated. Then you get underneath your education, you get your lecture modules. Now, lecture modules is basically what we set up for you so that you can go and do a little bit more research on how the JSE works. For instance, your motivation, planning to reach, buying and selling shares, some basic ideas, types of shares, sources of information. So once you click on, let's say, for instance, your motivation, click on more. It's going to give a little bit more information on that lecture. So you can go through that, read through it, go down, watch the 2 videos that goes with this module, and then you can go and write an exam on that, just to test your knowledge. Right. We prefer that you guys go and do the exam so that you can sharpen up your knowledge on the JSE. If you don't have that much time and you're not really interested in doing it, I mean, it is actually a good thing to go and do it, because, as I said, you're improving your knowledge on the JSE. But if you're not really willing to go through that, and you only want to go with what the technicians taught you, then you're more than welcome. But it's better to be knowledgeable on the JSE. Okay, so you can go to exams and just go and write an exam on that. So you go to select the category, introductory, for instance, select your module, your motivation, click on start exam. Right. So you'll see that some of them will have like 6 questions, or some of them will have 10 questions, depending on which lecture that you did. And then you get your webinars. Now your webinars basically So afterwards, obviously this webinar is also going to be uploaded. You'll see your share tracking webinars. It's the same ones that's underneath your lecture modules. So there's currently 24 of them. So all of these are spread out throughout your lecture modules. Then you get your live webinar archive, right? So that underneath this archive, so afterwards, after this webinar, we're gonna put this one on here as well. Okay, so you can go and watch it again. Then your share tracking tubes is a little bit more advanced. How your candlesticks works, your dependence, equity, financial year, earnings per share, your accounting period, balance of payments. So it's good to go through this because it teaches a little bit more about how to do decent analysis. Like for instance, with candlesticks, how do they work? Or a financial year, how to read the financial year end results or quarterly results of a share. All right, so it's good to go through those videos so that you know exactly, for instance, when you buy a share, you need to either enter a technical or fundamental reason. Now you'll find some reasons underneath the financial year end results. Okay, so just a little bit more information around that. And then you get your webinar bookings. So if you don't get an email or anything on a webinar and you want to go and do a live webinar, you just go to your webinar bookings, click on make a booking, and it's going to take you to the same page that you went through to go to this webinar. And you will receive obviously an email with a link that you can copy. Then you get your glossary. So your glossary is basically any words or terms that you don't understand on JSE will be displayed on this glossary. So that's your dictionary to the JSE. Then get your news information. So any news sources that you want to go and look at, like underneath your market news, it's going to give you a little bit more information on what's currently happening on the markets. And so all these sources are coming from Bloomberg, Cape Talk. Some of them are from YouTube, some of them are from ShareNet, News24. So this gives you a little bit more on what's currently happening on JSE. So you don't need to go and buy the newspaper to read your daily news. You can just come to the market news and read up what's currently happening on the JSE. Market information is going to give you a little bit more on the companies, the list companies, which companies are listed, which shares are suspended, which shares are still active. You can go directly to some of their websites. There's the website links. So you can do a little bit more research on those shares before you incur a buy or a sell on the JSE. JSE index will give you all the indexes, like for instance, general mining, your financials, your top 40, mid cap, and these codes you can go and look up on the charts. So when you go to the chart, when you go to your charts, for instance, you put in J203, which is the all share index, J203, and it's going to give you the all share index, what's currently happening on the JSE. All right, so we'll show you if the JSE is going up or down. We can see that the JSE has recovered quite a bit since we went to stage 3 of lockdown. Okay, so a lot of shares really went back up after the lockdown. Lockdown started over here, more or less. The share, most of the shares fell, and then it started to recover once we went. Some of the people, like your essential services, went back to work, and the JSE started to recover, obviously, after that. Media, now this is also an important part, where you'll find also the same thing. You'll find the webinars and seminars on our Facebook page. The Twitter page, we don't really advertise it or put the videos up there. We only put up some advertisements over there of the webinars that's going to happen. But if you want to watch the webinars and you don't really want to log into the software, you can go to our Facebook page, register on our Facebook page, and then one of our admins will just accept you on the group. But you must know that you need to supply us with either a cell phone number or a serial number, so that we can look you up on the system and make sure that you are a client of ShareTrack, and we'll add you onto the Facebook page. And then you get our blog. Now, underneath the blog, you'll find a little bit more information on how stuff like, for instance, the candlesticks work. All right, if you want to know exactly what a candlestick is and how to analyze candlestick, which is really interesting because it makes your analysis much easier when you go and work around candlesticks instead of using a normal line chart. All right, if you're used to a line chart, then you can stick to a line chart, but it's better to go with a candle chart. And then you'll get a few combo strategies or a few strategies on here as well. And then one of our other gurus, Hendrik, is webinars are also listed here. So on his blog, so possible retracements, buy and sell opportunities, tydsberekening, wanneer moet ek koop, wanneer moet ek verkoop. That will also be listed here. So same thing, just click on the link and it's going to take you to go to the webinar registration page, and then you just register for that webinar. And then obviously over here at the top, you'll get your need support. So any questions or anything that you might have, just go to ask a question, or you say request a technician, enter your name, contact number, email, message, send it through to us, and then one of our technicians will get back to you within about 5 minutes. And then you can also go to contact us and we'll give you the telephone number. So if you don't want to wait that 5 minutes, you're more than welcome to just give us a ring, or you can send an email. All right, so if it's really not, if it's, I wouldn't say it's not important, but if it's not that important, you're more than welcome to send us an email. We'll also get back to you, but just know it's much quicker to use the need support function, all right, because within 5 minutes, one of the technicians will get back to you. All right, so if there's any questions or anything, I see that there's no questions currently, but if you've got any questions afterwards, you're more than welcome to send me an email to Rudi@sharetrackin.com, or send an email through to support@sharetrackin.com, and we can answer any questions that you've got. Okay. So I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, wonderful evening, and then next week we'll go through a bit more on this, and then this coming Thursday, Carl is going to have a little bit more on the charting and on the filtering, and also buying and selling shares. All right.